welcome to an exciting episode of Chuck with Tech, your guide to all things tech. I'm your host Yasin Azam, and let's get started, shall we? First things first, Gboard. Does anyone actually use it? Some might answer yes, some might answer no. But the important thing is that Google just put in a new feature on Gboard that might actually convince you to use it. It's called Emoji Kitchen. Basically what that is you can mix and match emojis to create new ones. For example, if you put a cowboy emoji and a kissing emoji, you can do both. Like a kissing emoji with a cowboy hat. That's basically how it works. And till now, it's not available worldwide. It's only available on Android. And here's how you use it. First, you have to open an app with text input, and then you have to use Gboard as your default keyboard. Then you go to the emoji section, and then check or select your emoji. Now, until now, Google only put in the cowboy face emoji, clown, monkey, robot, cactus, poop, ghost, and heart emojis. So there's not a lot of options in Emoji Kitchen yet, but there will be future updates for that. And if you select one that supports Emoji Kitchen, then there will be a menu that actually brings you up some suggestions that mixes that emoji with another one. And then you just select one that might be useful for you, and you have your own custom emoji. Now, I like this idea, but then again, there are thousands of emojis, and there are quadrillions of combinations you can put on these emojis. So it's actually going to take a lot of time for Google to put all of these emojis in Emoji Kitchen. But for now, I mean, the amount of customization is actually pretty impressive, considering the slight amount of time it took Google to do that. Andy Rubin, aka the Android creator and founder of Essential, gives up on Essential. What do I mean by that? Well, in 2019, Essential promised a new form factor for phones, which is called Gem. It's basically a phone that looks like a TV remote. It was controversial. I mean, a lot of people liked the idea, some people didn't, but now it's not important because now it's done. Yeah, okay. So a couple of days ago, Essential had a press release and said that the startup has no clear path to deliver to customers. I'm not sure what the reason is, or I mean, why would they do that? But the company will remove all operations and will shut down after April 30. So Essential might actually be a good company with really good products that you would have bought, but now we really don't know the answer to that yet. Until April 30, there is very little hope for Essential. Until now, we're still not exactly sure what the reason for their company closing is, but I still hope that some people will at least use Gem's concept or form factor, because I would have thought it would be actually interesting. Congratulations to WhatsApp and everyone who at least had an influence over there, because now WhatsApp has hit more than 2 billion users. Hooray! Well, yes, I mean, it is a good moment for WhatsApp, and I'm still excited that they are still committed for end-to-end encryption, and it's now the second platform to have more than 2 billion users. Of course, the first one was Facebook. Now, I know it wasn't a really big deadline, but I did want to mention that because WhatsApp is one of the few good end-to-end encryption messaging platforms there. So props to WhatsApp, props to Facebook, and yeah, congrats on hitting 2 billion users. Speaking of Facebook, Facebook's new product experimentation team has developed a new application which is almost directly competing Pinterest. And what is it called? Hobby. But instead of a Y, it's an I. Yes. Okay, what does it do? Exactly what Pinterest does, shares photos and videos with similar categories, and you can view them on the internet. There's not a lot to be said here because there's nothing significant about it. But yeah, Hobby exists. Pinterest, I'm not sure they should worry about it because most of the NPE's projects aren't very successful. Not that they're bad, but it's just that it didn't have enough attraction or a big enough audience to actually be considered successful. Okay, at this point, you should ask, will I talk about the new Samsung Galaxy S20? In this episode, no, because there will be an entire dedicated episode to the Unpacked event. I'll talk about everything that was discussed in there with some details. But since this is another episode, we should talk about another phone. And thankfully, Xiaomi is here to deliver. The Xiaomi Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro is officially here. It almost has the same specs as the Samsung Galaxy S20. Okay, what does it have? Well, we know that it has 4 cameras on the back and a Snapdragon 865 chipset. The two phones will come with a 6.67-inch AMOLED Full HD Plus display with curved edges, and it will have a 90Hz refresh rate and 180Hz touch sampling rate. I mentioned the 4 cameras, right? Yeah, one of them is a 108 megapixel sensor, just like the Mi Note 10 Pro, and has other cameras, of course. A 10 times hybrid zoom telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel 2 times telephoto, and a 20 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. If you use the main camera, the 108 megapixel one, you can actually shoot in 8K, which is, spoiler alert, the same in the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. It will start at $715, and it's scheduled to be released on February 18. And it will come with 2 colors. The regular Mi 10 is almost the same, but instead of the 2 telephoto cameras, it has a 2 megapixel depth sensor and a 2 megapixel macro shooter. It's going to start at $572. Yes. What do I feel like about these phones? Well, it's very, 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 very good in performance, especially with the Snapdragon 865. And the colors are pretty good. The 90Hz refresh rate helps, and also the 108 megapixel camera. And yeah, I mean, on paper this looks like a really good phone at a really good price. There have been reports saying that when Apple went to move production of some of its products to Taiwan, Apple made plans to release a new product. The AirPods Pro Lite. Honestly, in my opinion, the name makes no sense because that's just the regular AirPods. For now, these are just reports, so take it with a grain of salt. Even I doubt the existence of this product. Anyways, I mean, it might have some of the features in the AirPods Pro, and it might not. It can have some improvements over the AirPods, but not the AirPods Pro. It can act as something in between the regular AirPods and the regular AirPods Pro. But then again, I mean, there isn't supposed to be. I don't think it might actually exist. I mean, just call it AirPods. AirPods Pro Lite is the same. This episode is going to be all about Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked event. To start off the recap of the Unpacked event, we'll talk about Samsung's revolutionary phone, the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. Now, it's a clamshell foldable phone, almost exactly like the Motorola Razr, and Samsung did have a lot of experience with hinges and foldable phone mechanics from the Galaxy Fold. So now Samsung has an advantage because they already know what mistakes they had and how to fix them. Now, okay, what does this phone have? Well, instead of a plastic screen, it actually has an ultra thin glass in the display. So no more finger scratches, and it's more protective and more durable than plastic, so it's a good thing. And okay, what's the display exactly? Well, it has a 6.7-inch foldable dynamic AMOLED display with HDR10+. The cover display is a 1.1-inch Super AMOLED display. It will come with One UI 2, which is based off of Android 10. It will have 256 gigs of UFS 3.0 storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Much better than the Motorola's Snapdragon 710, the Z Flip will come with the Snapdragon 855 Plus. In total, there are 3 cameras, 2 on the back and 1 on the front. The 2 on the back are 1. A 12-megapixel f1.8 wide camera and a 12-megapixel f2.2 ultra-wide camera. And the selfie camera will be a 10-megapixel f2.4 wide camera. It will have a 3300 mAh battery with a 50-watt charging brick in the box. It will come in 3 colors: mirror black, mirror purple, and in some regions, mirror gold. And that's all good specs for a phone, specifically speaking for a foldable phone. But the problem is the price. $1,400. And that's just the base model. I mean, besides the price, it's almost too good to be true. The hinge is stronger, it feels more rigid. With Google's assistance, they actually put flex mode to good use, where you can use the phone like a laptop, like in 90-degree angle openings. On paper, it looks to be a really good and promising phone, and I won't be surprised if people actually buy this phone and actually use it. It's not that bad of a price, especially considering that the original Galaxy Fold used to cost $2,000. Now let's talk about the main event of the Galaxy Unpacked, the Samsung Galaxy S20, the S20 Plus, and the S20 Ultra. All of these 3 phones are, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful flagships Samsung has ever manufactured. With only slight differences between the S20 and the S20 Plus, the S20 Ultra is on a league of its own. These 3 phones are really, really, really good. So that's why we'll start with the S20. Now, what does it have? Well, it has a 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display with HDR10+, of course. But the most important upgrade of all these 3 phones is that they all have a 120Hz refresh rate on the display. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Samsung has finally joined the high refresh rate group along with almost every company except Apple and Huawei. But this time they jumped like really hard. From 60 all the way to 120. And on these 3 phones, there is no variable refresh rate or 90Hz refresh rate option. It's just either 60 or 120Hz. But keep in mind, if you do turn on 120Hz, it will only be stuck at Full HD Plus. But honestly, that doesn't matter to me. Again, like the Z Flip, it will have One UI 2, which is based off of Android 10. It will have the new Snapdragon 865, which we talked about a couple of episodes ago. 128 gigabytes of UFS 3.0 storage and 8 gigs of RAM. 3 cameras. 1. A 12 megapixel f1.8 wide camera. A 64 megapixel f2.0 telephoto 3x a hybrid optical zoom camera, and a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide camera. The selfie camera will be a 10 megapixel f2.2 wide camera. And now another key upgrade with the S20 line here is that on the rear cameras at least, you can shoot of a video resolution in 8K. What? 8K? I'm not joking. 8K. But here's a little side note. Usually when you shoot in 8K, it takes 33 megapixels per frame. So The problem is that the main camera on the S20 and the S20 Plus is only 12 megapixels. So whenever you have to shoot an 8K, they're going to pick the 3 times optical zoom telephoto camera because it's 64. So yeah, if you do have the S20 and the S20 Plus, I mean, I wouldn't recommend getting or using 8K. But still, 8K isn't even used globally. So why would Samsung use 8K cameras this quickly? But hey, I'm not complaining. Like the S10 and the Note 10, it will have an in-display fingerprint sensor, which I believe is similar to last year's models. It will have a 4000 mAh battery with a 25 watt charging brick in the box, 15 watts of wireless charging, and 9 watts of reverse wireless charging. It will come in 4 colors: Cosmic Grey, Cloud Blue, Cloud Pink, and Cosmic White. The S20 Plus is nearly similar in every way, but there are few changes. For example, it's 6.7 inches instead of 6.2, and the battery size will be 4500 mAh instead of just regular 4000. There's going to be an added depth sensor in the camera setup on the back, and there's going to be 2 extra colors: blue and red. This is where the fun begins, ladies and gentlemen. The S20 Ultra. Okay, what's so ultra about it? Well, I mean, of course, it has most of the features of the regular S20 and the S20 Plus, but it has some major upgrades. For one, it's a massive 6.9-inch display with, of course, 120Hz screen, HDR10 Plus, the same as the S20. But what's different here is that it has from 128 gigabytes of UFS 3.0 storage all the way to 512, and from 12 to 16 gigabytes of RAM. Yes, you heard me right. Now phones can have more RAM than your PC. Wow. It has a massive 5000 mAh battery with a 25 watt charging brick in the box, but you can use a 45 watt charging brick, just like the Note 10 Plus. And the cameras, ladies and gentlemen, is the main focus of these 3 phones. The main camera is 108 megapixel f1.8 wide camera, a 48 megapixel f3.6 telephoto 10 times hybrid optical zoom lens, a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide camera, and a depth sensor. That is just insane. Even for a flagship phone. I mean, not a single phone has this many outstanding specifications in it. I'm actually worried that it's too powerful for the heat and the battery. I'm actually worried that the phone might be too powerful for that. I mean, if you have a phone with 108 megapixel camera, Snapdragon 865, 100 times digital zoom, and 16 gigabytes of RAM, that's just too much. But of course, the price is also too much. The S20 will start at $999, the S20 Plus will start at $1199, and the S20 Ultra will start at $1399. So I'm not sure if the price is actually worth it or not. I mean, it depends on what you want. And finally, Samsung's answer to the AirPods Pro, the Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus. The only bad thing about it is that they look exactly like the original Galaxy Buds. With only a single charge, it could play for up to 11 hours, and the charging case can give it another 11. Instead of a single driver system, they have a dual driver system. And instead of 2 microphones, they now have 3 microphones. So you get the picture. It's just improved specs, and that's not a bad thing at all. And the good thing is, it's only $20 more expensive. Only $150. And they're expected to ship on February 14. So that's mostly what happened this year at the Samsung Galaxy Unpacked event. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Please, if you want to know what else happened this week in technology, then please check out my other episode, which is released the same time as this episode. And thank you for watching it. Please check out my other episodes in the podcast, and don't be afraid to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. As always, this is Yasin Azam signing out. See you next weekend.